Let me tell you a story. Jesus was talking to a lawyer, and the lawyer said to Jesus, he said, how do you have eternal life? And he says, well, I think you know, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And the lawyer seeks to justify himself. This is found in Luke chapter 10. And he says, well, who is my neighbor? And Jesus is like, you really want to know? I'm going to tell you a story. He says, there was this guy, he's a Jewish guy, and he's on this road, and he gets jumped on the road, and he gets beaten up, and he's in the bloody pulp, and he's there on the ground, and he's dying. And wouldn't it be just like providence of God that a Jewish priest came up on him by the road but couldn't be bothered? His schedule was full. Jesus goes on in the story and he says, but then there was a Levite, a fellow Jew, who by God's providence was also on the path and saw the dying, heaving, bloody Jewish man, and he too had too much on his plate. Jesus says, but then there came a Samaritan. Jesus' audience would have been predominantly Jewish while telling this story in real time, and they would have sucked air at the thought of maybe, just maybe, they know where Jesus is going with this story. Samaritans were completely overlooked, marginalized, berated, and belittled by all Jewish people. Jesus says, and a Samaritan saw the bloodied, broken, dying Jewish man, and he stopped his animal, got off, got down on his hands and knees, and began to resuscitate and restore, and got this man together, put him on his animal, and he walked this man by his side on his animal to a bed that night, made sure that he was still alive and okay, woke up the next morning, made sure they got him into a hotel or an inn, and told the innkeeper, I will be back to check on him. Here's my credit card for any extra expenses. And Jesus turns to the crowd and the lawyer, and he says, who do you think was a neighbor? And the lawyer was like, well, he wouldn't even say the word Samaritan. He said the one who was kind. Jesus says, go and live like that. Go and live like that. The writer of Hebrews seems to beckon the same, love your neighbor as yourself. Who is my neighbor? Well, Hebrews says people in your church, first of all. But you know what's funny about that story? Who's your neighbor? Love your neighbor, right? Strive for peace with everyone in your church. Why would Jesus add the diversity of ethnicity? Because it only charges, it would have supercharged the story. Why the controversy, Jesus? Why add the hated, deplorable Samaritans and make a Samaritan man the star of your story? Why would you do that? Because Jesus made the different cultures and the beautiful, varied ethnicities in the world, and he understood what had happened to us down here. And I'll tell you what had happened. Ethnicity still remains our greatest challenge, one with another. And it is our greatest excuse. You could not be my neighbor because you're different than me. Look at you.